Every time I get ready to start this and I'll be jamming to the beat of the music, something always reminds me, you need to go back over there and start doing the go lives on the Instagrams and stuff so other people can participate. So I've done that now. Now I'm going to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Brian Bacchus, and you'll never be.
You're Jamal,
you pantomime, you're a ventriloquist.
Right, on mute.
He must got some people in the background talking. So
that is Jamal Smith. And I am Toni Raines, Antoinette Toni Bailey Raines. And welcome to our 70th AltadenaTalks podcast. Today happens to again be Tuesday, which means it's Toni Talks show day. But we're excited.
Ghost in the machine today. So are we going to go right into it? Or are we going to, let's go right into it. So Toni has a special guest today. I'm going to let her introduce him when he comes on, but I've been waiting to do this for the longest. So here we go. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here.
Hey, Mark. Everyone who's watching today, we have Altadenian Mark Mariscal on the show. I asked him on Saturday to come on, so I'm really, really happy that you're here. Let me give you just a little bit of background about Mark. Mark calls himself a professional volunteer in Altadena. He retired from local government in 2016. He has dedicated 20 to 30 hours each week on average with helping the Rotary Club of Altadena, Altadena Library Foundation, Homeless Ministry at St. Elizabeth Church, Friends of the Altadena Library, and other groups in Altadena, which is why if you're all over the place like that, you are a professional volunteer. So thank you as an Altadenian for being so integrated throughout Altadena. You are a lifelong resident of LA County. Mark and his wife moved to Altadena in 1989 after being raised in Echo Park and Silver Lake. His family owned a store on Alvera Street since 1930, which is amazing, where Mark worked as a teenager as a fourth generation family member. We'll have to talk about that store, Mark. Mark serves on numerous nonprofit boards and has over the years. He currently serves on 4 active local boards in Altadena and was recently added to the new Altadena Builds Back Foundation that will focus on housing issues in Altadena as part of the rebuilding process. His wife is an educator and they have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. And Mark's house burned down on January 8th. He was in West Altadena on Loma Alta, not far from Loma Alta Park, and they plan to rebuild. So again, thank you so much, Mark, for coming on with us. I know you were traveling and now you are situated and still, so I'm super happy about that. What was the store or the shop that your family had on Alvera Street? I remember going down there so much as a kid.
Well, I mean, Alvera Street is what some people call the birthplace of Los Angeles, right? I mean, as a kid, when I was 3, 4, and 5, I was like a shoe shine boy, right? So I would shine people's shoes for a nickel. But, basically my great grandparents, started there. They weren't even citizens. They were immigrants from northern Mexico. And my dad was the first generation Mexican born here. And so, I'll just say Alvera Street to this day talks about, the idea that inclusivity is necessary in the United States. That's kind of what I see of, what continues to go on in Los Angeles. So, I mean, I worked there. I was able to I learned how to make change. I learned how to understand foreign currency because people, from all over would try to pay in foreign currency, which, I didn't know what all that was when I'm 9 years old and 10 years old. But Alvera Street's a great place. I'm just blessed and spent a lot of my years.
Yeah, good. And I know that, okay, so let me just give a little context about you and I meeting. So everyone knows I've been going up to Loma Alta Park on the weekends to help with that beautification project so that it can reopen May 17th. So I was there 2 weeks ago for the first one. I planted a lot of the plants down on the corner of Loma Alta and then what's that side street called? Not Lincoln, but the very next one, Cata Corner or directly across.
Yeah, the road that goes up into the Lavinia project.
Yeah, but not all the way. Anyway, where the basketball court is. No, where the basketball court is. Yeah. So right there where the big gym is. So on that corner, planted a lot of that stuff there and mulched. And I saw you there, but we didn't actually talk and meet. But I know I heard you talking to other officials that were there. So then last weekend I couldn't go, had to do some other events, or a week and a half ago. So then this past Saturday I went and I was talking to Fernanda and Mika. And so you were also engaging with them about a lot of stuff, and you had your Altadena Rotary hat on. And so we actually met for the first time and had a conversation. And I don't know what you did with your picture, but if you're still there, hopefully you can hear me and you come right back. Are you still there, Mark? Uh-oh, did we lose him? Oh, no.
Can you see me?
I can now, yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. And so you and I met Saturday. We had some great conversation. You were running to yet another event over at Rite Aid because that's what you do. But you were talking to them about the opening in May and some other things. So it was great to actually meet you because you, like me, are super involved in everything that's going on. And then Brian walked up, and so you got to meet my co-host Brian. And then this morning you met Jamal. So as we were talking, I said, do you want to come on my show Tuesday? I had somebody else that I was talking to, but I thought it would be really important to bring you on because Altadenians need to hear about some of the things that the Altadena Rotary, the Altadena Library Foundation, and then this Altadena Build Backs is builds back. Excuse me, Altadena builds back, not build backs. We don't need big backs, but that you're doing. So tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with the Altadena Library. I know you guys brought in LeVar Burton for the reopening and all of that, but tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Sure.
Oh,
so,
wait,
first, it was
first, do you want to talk about when you had to leave on the 8th? Tell us about your experience that, and then we'll talk about all the stuff in the last 100 days that you've been doing. Yeah.
All right. Well, so I'll say this. On January 7th, the power went out and was out most of the day, right? Many of us got our calls from Edison saying, we're going to turn off your power. The power came back on for a couple of hours, but, at 6 o'clock, the power was off. And so I about 45 minutes later, when I heard the fire had first started, I thought, wow, that's kind of strange, but we'll see what happens. 10 o'clock that night, I drove up to Farnsworth Park, which is where the Davies building was at. And that's where our Rotary Club would do the summer concerts. And so I went up there and I could see the flames in the background over there. And, again, I've been through the 1993 fire. I was through the 2009 fire that we had up here. And I just didn't really think much about it. I came back home, and went back up at about 11 o'clock and thought, I don't know about this one. So when I got back home, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take a nap for an hour and a half. I know it sounds crazy, but I said, I'm going to wake up at about 1 o'clock and I'll go check it out. And sure enough, Tony, I got to tell you, I did. I drove back up to Lake and I drove home right away. And I said, yeah, I think we need to pack up. I said, I'm sure that the cavalry is going to come here and put these flames out. But if they don't, we better be prepared. And so, we're fostering, a 4 and a 7-year-old, and we just have a legal responsibility. And I just said, look, let the kids stay asleep. Let's start packing up our stuff. And we did that. And they took off at 3. I got them out the door at 3:20. And Tony, I did what any first responder will tell you not to do. And I stayed back thinking I was going to try to save my home or my neighbor's home, right?
Yeah.
Shit, that
it's okay.
That wind was so strong, just straight 60 mile an hour, not even counting the gusts. And palm fronds are hitting me. The embers started coming at about 4:15 in the morning. And I'll tell you what I did. I went back in the house, right? No electricity, and I had these little power lights that I had bought from a commercial hardware store. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I used those. I went into the closet and I took out 3 Rotary shirts and 2 Altadena Library Friends shirts
Mm-hmm.
because that's been kind of like my identity in Altadena for the last 10 years.
Okay.
And I took those with me and I left. I took a photo at 4:35 looking up Loma Alta towards Cheney Trail, and you can see
Mm-hmm.
the flames. And
Mm-hmm.
I got out of there, went down to the convention center, and that's where we
You know
spent the
what's
next
really
13 days.
you know what's really odd is that your power was off that day and that morning, because where I grew up, right by Farnsworth Park, on Wapello, on the east side of Lake, where it ends at Mount Curve,
Yep.
my parents' electricity never went off until 9:30 that night. It was on all day. It was on all night. And when you're saying you drove over there, my daughter, my nephew, and my brother were all there. And my brother is a fire chief for Cal Fire, doing the same as first responders tell you not to do. They were trying to save our parents' house. They were getting everything that they could out from my parents, and then, watered down the outside and all of that. My daughter and nephew left like 1:30, 2 o'clock because there was black smoke in the house, right? When you were driving over that way, and you said at 3 or 4 o'clock, my parents' house was already gone at about 3 o'clock on the east side of Lake. And so, but their power was on till either 9:30 or 10 o'clock that night, because they were literally getting stuff out. And then between that time and when they left, they were using their lights on their flashlights, right? But my brother did similar to you. After my daughter and nephew left, he was like, oh, let me sit down for a minute. Not purposely to take a nap. He was just tired because, he's a fire chief. They've been working this stuff all day. And he was like, let me just sit down for a minute, right? Well, what he did, he sat down, he fell asleep, didn't realize it until he said there was a gust of wind, had to be 100 miles an hour, that came and shook the house. And that's what woke him up. But had that not happened, he would have perished in our parents' house. Wow. And so, that same thing. People were trying to do everything that they could, right? Like, we've all been through that growing up in Altadena, living there. Like, we've had fires. We've never had to evacuate and never thought, or if we did, it was, you're right back the next day or whatever. Right, but that your house and the whole town basically would be gone, or 90% of it, homes, schools, businesses, churches, everything. And so I'm thankful that, everybody got out and we're down at my nephew's in Pasadena. But you were saying you guys went to the convention center and were there for, did you say 13 days?
Yeah, 13 nights. So we went down to the convention center, and I'll tell you that within an hour, I realized there's no way we're going back home for at least 2 nights. And so there's the Hotel Dena right behind the convention center. Yeah. And I'm a Marriott person, right? So I just looked online, and I didn't realize the Hotel Dena used to be the Sheraton. It just didn't dawn on me. And so, they had a room. And so it was like, boom, I booked it for 2 nights. And oh my goodness, then we just kept adding nights. But, that was a savior, not just to us, but to the other 1,200 families or whatever, because that's where we got all of our clothes, our new clothes. That's where we got our food every day. I mean, it was a focus, a very focal point, I should say. But, it was tough because there were families there that were crying 2 days later still. And a lot of people with animals, and cats. It's not easy to keep a cat in the convention center. Oh, my goodness.
I saw the dogs and the cats because I had to go down there for my church with the van and ask people, do you want to come up and have breakfast? Do you want to come and, get things? And I was shocked to see everybody's on cots in these rooms, right? And then they had a family section over here. But the amount of dogs and the amount of cats, and I was just like, for me personally, I was like, this is bananas. I couldn't live like that, right? In just these open rooms with everybody and dogs and cats and no privacy. And I just, my heart like bled when I had to go in there that Sunday. It was incredible to see it. So
I just wanted to ask a question. The reason why I popped back in, because, we had a lot of people complaining that the shelters were not up to par. Mark, how was your experience there with the shelter?
All right. So, again, I used to work for city of Los Angeles. And so I went through the, 90, the earthquake of 94. I went through the big floods in 2000 and with my staff as I was promoting up, right? But we were out working, the recovery centers and working the initial disaster. I mean, that
Yeah.
earthquake, all of that. So I got to tell you that I have praised the city of Pasadena's employees. I've said this to council members, to the mayor, to others. The staff that reported in at 7 a.m. from all over, the Pasadena employees. I mean, some of them had lost their own homes and they're at the convention center working, right?
Wow.
I mean, the Red Cross was there with their cots, but Red Cross was nowhere ready to jump in and do the things that a disaster service worker is trained to do because they didn't have people. The city of Pasadena employees, I mean, from all of the different departments, those first 36 or 48 hours, I got to tell you, I praise those public employees, and people don't realize the importance of government until you have that kind of an emergency. Oh my
Got
God.
it.
Yeah, I just wanted to know from your perspective, because we've heard so many stories, and I just wanted to get it from a person who was there in the fray.
In the beginning, yeah.
Let me tell you what I felt happened like around day 5, and it's unfortunate. So you say, Toni, how you went in on Sunday in the church, and there were a lot of groups. But when the Red Cross, and I say this respectfully, but when the Red Cross came in and totally took over operation around Monday or Tuesday,
It was
they
a mess.
then discouraged all these organizations that wanted to help. They wanted to put up a barricade. They didn't want people in there other than the people that were already living in the evacuation zone, right? It's like, I'll tell you, I complained a little bit about that. And I felt that, putting the people across the street in front of the Paseo to be able to give out sandwiches to people because they wanted you all to eat inside was missing the point of helping people that needed assistance.
Yeah. I've heard that, and I know
that was the stories I heard too.
Yeah,
even
I witnessed it.
Yeah, you experienced it, right? And even like one of the elders at my church, she was going in prior, and the day that I was assigned to take the van down there, they were like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to get in, Toni." And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, I'm getting in." And she said, "No, they're not letting people in churches and all that in anymore." She said, "Matter of fact, they blocked it off. You can't even park in front or whatever."
Yep.
So when I came back later, she was like, "So they didn't let you park?" I said, "Yes, they did." I said, because I pulled up and I said, "This is who I am, and I'm going in to do this, and I'm parking right there in front with my van." And PPD was like, "Okay, ma'am." And she said, "Who are you that you got in?" I said, "Maybe I just went with God's favor." I said, "But I told them what I was going to do. I didn't ask permission." And then when I got to the door to the Red Cross, I said, "This is who I am from Victory Bible Church. I am going in to ask people if they want to come for a hot meal, for church, to get food, clothes, toiletries, or whatever." And they said, "Okay, here, can you put your name and we'll give you this wristband?" And I had a young man with me. And when I got back to church, they were like, "How?" Because they kicked all of us out. And I said, again, I'm not going to ask permission. I told them what I was going to do because I was there for that specific thing. So, but I had heard that. And I hate that they did that and kicked people out or told them they couldn't help, because everybody was there trying to do just that, help. Right. So then what have you, since that experience, what have you done with Altadena Rotary, with Altadena Library Foundation, and then now that you're on this board? If you can kind of go back from, okay, this was our immediate insanity, we were living here 2 weeks or whatever, and then you've already been a volunteer, but then I know, like me, you've probably really kicked into high gear. Like, this is my community, how can I help? And how can I help through these organizations that I'm already with?
Right. So, as you said, right away, that I'm going to say it was really the religious organizations that were much more organized to come in to be of help. The other little local nonprofits in our community anyway of Altadena, and even in Pasadena, again, they were a little slower in moving forward. But when we finally got to I don't know, like almost at 2 weeks, right? You could start seeing the movement of, there's a lot of people that were not going to get out of the convention center, and there's already a lot of people that were wanting to go look at their properties, right? So remember, they opened up our properties by zones. And where our house burned, we were the last zone to open, and we opened on that Monday, which I think was January 20th.
Okay.
Which was the afternoon, of our federal holiday of Martin Luther King Day, right? So, so we drove up to our property right away, and besides crying, we thought, okay, there's all these ashes here, and you're not supposed to touch them. It doesn't matter. They were giving out all the, PPE stuff.
Yeah.
But, we went and dug a little bit, right? And then right away started thinking about, okay, if there are really thousands of homes, how are all these people going to, especially people that, there was just one or two people living in a house, or, people that weren't even around when the fire hit because they were on vacation. How are they going to start dealing with their own personal challenge of cleaning or doing that? And at that same time, our Rotary Club was asked by Nick, who's the vice chair of the town council, that they were going to be going on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and they wanted to be able to ask people to contribute money. And so the Altadena Rotary Charities, which is the foundation of the local Altadena Rotary Club, and we've been a foundation since 1999, giving away scholarships and a lot of things for years. And I've only been in this club for 8 years. But all of a sudden, all these $25 and $50 and $100 donations came in. And within 36 hours, back then, around January 16th or 17th, about $100,000 came in. Now, that's peanuts compared to, I think by that time, the Pasadena Community Foundation already had $3 or $4 million. There was money being mobilized at the California Community Foundation at the big levels, but the organizations at the street level, the church organizations, maybe the Rotary, maybe the St. Vincent de Paul, St. Elizabeth, again, sort of affiliated with a church, but those nonprofits, a group called Churla, those groups were already talking to Friends Indeed, the clientele that they had that were in Altadena, saying, how can we help? And then, around that time, Pasadena Community Foundation gave their first, immediate grants. And I was having a discussion with Jennifer Duvall, the the CEO of Pasadena Community Foundation. And I told her, I said, Nikki, who's the library director, and I were talking about the hotspots that were in the library. Like, how can we get those hotspots out and give them to people who had no internet access? And so we were talking to Jennifer, and she said, well, why don't you guys think about, we heard T-Mobile and AT&T and Verizon, they were offering these abilities to try to get some initially. And so right away, T-Mobile came, we called them and said, look, we have this program, and let's see what we could do. And so I got to tell you that within 1 hour, Toni, and I am serious when I say this, within 1 hour, Jennifer Duvall said, Mark, write a quick proposal. Tell us what you think you need to be able to provide internet service for 1 year for a number of people. And so we did 200, right? So we said 200 hotspots, and we needed $48,000 to do that. And PCF, in 1 hour, after turning that in, approved a $40,000 grant. And so we ordered, we worked with the T-Mobile business rep. We ordered these things. They came within a week. I mean, again, we talk about, I mean, for me, I'm religious, very religious too. And so I believe that God really puts us in the right place. And there had already been people calling the library phone number, which of course nobody could answer. And they'd have to, because they lost power too, and they lost their system and their IT lines, all that. But people were asking, they were calling the LA County libraries trying to find hotspots. So we were able to start providing those starting February 8th because of that grant and because of the work of volunteers. I mean,
well, it's so incredible to me how no matter where people are, displaced or still local or whatever, going back in their homes or whatever, and even you and I meeting, right? There's all these connections happening because even with us at Altadena Talks, started very small with Brian and Jamal, and then a week or 8 days, 10 days in, something I came in, and then next thing was now we're here. Now we're not 10,000 or 20,000, but averaging, I think, about 32, 35,000 a month. And our shows continue to evolve and grow. And the more we talk about stuff, the more connections we're having. But it's Altadenians from all over, wherever they are, that are making sure our community is able to build back. That's making sure that we partner together to get the information out there. Because had I known, or we at Altadena Talks known about the hot spots back then, it'd have been all over here, right? Like, hey, this is how we can get 200 hot spots out to people, right? So that all those that needed them. So might be late as far as connecting for that, but now there's a connection, and if there's something that the foundations, the Rotary Club, or the Altadena builds back, we need to get the information out with different avenues than what you already have. Then it could come here, because the county is now like, oh, Toni, you have the talk show. Can you guys put our information? We're like, absolutely. And then Altadena Town Council, Melissa came on, and a couple days after she came on and we discussed something, she sent me an email. Oh, Toni, we're going to do this. So I was able to announce it on here. And then through Brian and everybody he knows is, or people that he's connected with, we're able to get on all the different Facebook pages, right? Not just the beautiful Altadena, but Altadena, California, and different ones, right? And so we stream live on 8 platforms. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or whatever, but we stream live every day. And so a lot more people are getting the information, even people that are Altadenians that are now out of state or something, right? But they're in the know because homes they grew up in burned, family and friends that are still here burned down and are displaced. And so a lot of the information we're able to disseminate it here on the Altadena Talks podcast. And so it's really great that we're doing this and that people like you and others are coming on so that the information can continue to be relevant and accurate and current, and we can get it out there. And so that was Rotary and Altadena Library, I guess, together that made sure that those hot spots got out there. And then now you're with working with the other Altadena Builds Back, which is some of the money or the bulk of it will come through the Pasadena Community Foundation. And I think that, I don't know, what was it announced a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that $55 million was given as a grant to that. Can you talk a little bit about that? And what is that money earmarked for? Because we keep, getting these questions all the time. Where's the money? Where's the money? And I know you've heard it too, right? Yeah. And people need money to build their houses. So where's the money? We keep hearing about all this big money. So now that this $55 million has come in, and one thing that I was really glad to see when that announcement was made was the diversity of the board, because too many organizations have come in, and like you and I talked on Saturday, and not thought about the diverse population of Altadena, right? Yep. You're giving only to this person or this race or this culture, and we are so diverse, it's ridiculous, right? Like there's not a lot of racism in Altadena. We're very close knit. We're very, Altadena is just a good place. So with this money, how is it going to be distributed equitably so that people of all cultures can apply? Or what is the process for application? Just tell me what you all are already talking about and thinking, and how. I'm sure the 55 is just a drop in the bucket. There will be more. But what does it look like for that Build Back Foundation?
Well, so I'll do my best. So we've only had one official board meeting.
Okay.
Well, we had two board meetings. I apologize. So 4 of the 5 board members are Altadenans, right? So they reside here. 3 of us lost our homes. One of them is still smoked out, and then the other lives very close to Altadena, but not in Altadena. I would say that it was really an offshoot of the idea that the Pasadena Community Foundation Board wanted to do and needed to create something with the name Altadena. I mean, look, Pasadena Community Foundation is, I don't know, 75 years old or somewhere around there. But they have really stepped up, and I will talk just from being around the last 20 years of watching what's going on in our community. They've stepped up with giving grants and doing more things in Altadena, but they've also branched out to San Gabriel, the area and all that. But this is focused. So what they did is 3 of the board members are also on the Pasadena Community Foundation, but this is a standalone, organized foundation. So it doesn't report to PCF. It is truly 5 board members right now, maybe growing to 7 over the next year or 2. We don't know. But yes, it did get a couple of anonymous gifts that now brings that fund up to $55.5 million or something. Okay. And it's pretty amazing. But Toni, in the long run, and I know we had this discussion, I've had it with many other people, we need a few $billions.
Billions. Yeah.
Billions with a B if we are going to help the uninsured and the underinsured throughout the 5,850 approximate homes, and then the businesses. And how do we do that? So the foundation is currently, it hired a staff person. So we've got a staff person, and she was actually evacuated. She doesn't live in Altadena, but right in Pasadena, below Altadena, was evacuated for a few days. Same kind of thing. And so she truly understands also the importance of, what ABBF will be able to do. And we're hoping what we're going to do is be able to help the different directions that are going on, because there's not one solution to the housing rebuilding and the restoring, and there's definitely not one solution on how do we find a way to identify those people.
And he'll be back after these messages.
All right, technical difficulties. He was
on his way location.
He was on his way up to his property on Loma Alta to water, right? Because plants, trees, whatever, and he has water with him. And so he stopped in Pasadena at where the Food for Less is. He's stationed in that parking lot. But, signal comes and goes. So I know he'll pop back in as soon as he can. This might be a good time to bring Jamal on as we have this little break and waiting for him to Jamal pop in and maybe do our first set of announcements. And then as Mark is able to rejoin, we'll bring him back on the stage.
Jamal,
Oh, what happened? Oh, he's back. Hold on. Nope. He's frozen. So Jamal, you want to pop in and do the announcements?
Yeah, please? I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. First one is the Disaster Recovery Center. The current hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Saturdays, 9 to 4. This is at 540 West Woodbury Road in Altadena. Then we have the One Stop Permit Center at 464 West Woodbury Road, Suite 210 in Altadena. For walk-in hours, it's Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then if you'd like an appointment, you can actually have one of those on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday from 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. or Saturday from 8 to 12. And the SCE planner appointments are available effective yesterday, Monday and Wednesdays, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. The last Saturday for the rebuilding of Loma Alta Park is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Go ahead and come out there, help plant trees, do some painting. We saw the videos yesterday of Brian and Toni out there. It's looking really, really nice. You can actually contribute to the beautification and reopening of Loma Alta Park. It's at 3330 North Lincoln Avenue in Altadena, and lunches and snacks will be provided. And we'll do this one more and then get back with Mark. The World Central Kitchen, we've had these different hubs available. Iglesia del Nazareno on Mondays through Saturdays from 4 p.m. to 7 at 3541 Brandon Street. And then we have Gordy's Garage Parking Lot at 843 West Woodbury Road and the Sierra Madre YMCA at 611 East Sierra Madre Boulevard in Sierra Madre. Both locations Monday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then they reopen from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. We'll go back to the show now.
Thank you, Jamal. Appreciate that. Hey, Mark, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Like you said, technical difficulties.
Exactly. We get it. We run into it, and that's when we just segue, do the announcements or whatever. So not a problem. Yeah. So you were saying that with the foundation, there's 5, probably going to be another 7 that the 55.5 million has come in. And then you were saying, obviously, we need billions or trillions, right, to really help everyone build back that wants to build back. And people that think that they need to sell, where we could say, no, you don't need to sell your lot, right? You can build back. And even with like me going through this national VOAD training right now, I learned that people may have exhausted everything, meaning they might have had a GoFundMe, they might have had FEMA assistance or whatever, and they have a lot, don't want to sell, but have $100 in the bank and have 0 to build. That's when the Mennonites will rebuild their home at no cost to them, or Hope Recovery or whatever. There are a couple of organizations, but you have to almost be desolate and have nothing. But it's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9 months from now, because they get donations that are the billions that come into those organizations. So it will fund. So there is hope. But what happens is a lot of people don't know this, right? And I only know because I've been meeting with SBA and FEMA and Cal OES, and now going through this long-term recovery training. And so I have the information because I'm in these workshops Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. So for me, I'm getting the info so that, yes, I can have it for the community, right? And even those that feel like, oh, we just can't build, right? Yeah, you actually can. So there are alternatives down the road, but nevertheless, that's only going to be certain people that once we do the care management and it goes on a vote, okay, these are the people that get that. There's still going to be a bunch that, as we know, don't have insurance or are underinsured, and there's a gap. And that's where, like you said, the 55.5 million or however many billion we get in will come in, and that's where the money will go. So with this 55.5 million, are you all only focused on that, or are you going to help and assist people with, and this may not even be anything you all have fully like solidified yet, but not only with that gap, but we had a lot of renters in Altadena, some that I know rented for 17 years. And one girl was like, 17 years, why you didn't buy that house by now? You know, and she was like, just because I had a great relationship with the landlord and I just kept renting. But she wants to stay there, right? Her mother and 2 sisters lost houses. We know other families like the Benz that lost 20. We know the Betts that lost like 9. You know, lots of people that lost so much, but have been out in a don't want to leave. So there are people that or hotels that are still without and living in cars or on couches. So are you going to be able to connect with those people and make, or is
well, and I don't know if are you good with me? Because I lost a little bit of you, but
yes.
Okay, but I'll say again, you're right. I think you know the initial focus is going to be really how do case managers start gathering the information on again, all of the people that used to live in Altadena that are now displaced, and it's somewhere between 15 and 20,000 people.
Right.
So that's an important element. That might be something that Altadena Builds Back Foundation looks at helping fund. there are people currently working on trying to figure out how all these tax credits and all the housing assistance for low income and moderate income and first responders and educators, right? All these different subsidy programs that are in the tax system. How can some of these tax credits get used? I mean, that might be something ABBF looks at, helping workshops on those kind of things. We're still really new in this, with the direction that's going to come. But as you've said, you had an opportunity as others to be at the table at times with leadership in California and Southern California that are saying there is going to be some direction and there is going to be some dollars.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure that as much of those dollars really are hitting the families in need more than I say this respectfully, more than the administration of the organization to keep it moving along. And so, look, the Altadena Preservation Fund that was just announced for people 65 and older that are over in the census tracts that we would call the west side of Altadena, for people that don't have any insurance or underinsured, where they can get a one-time grant of $15,000 to help them at least right now start working on the direction they want to go in. I mean, that's a great opportunity that just popped up last week, right?
Yeah.
So we got to get the message out. We got to get the message out for that. It's, again, I said earlier in the show that my wife and I, we're rebuilding, and we think that, we're probably going to have 80 or 90% of the money that it's going to take to rebuild, right? Our insurance is not going to cover everything, at least from their tentative documents they just sent us late last week. But, we're going to go back and say, why did you not include this? Or why is this? I mean, we don't know where it's going to be,
right.
but we at least have insurance. And Toni, you've talked to people and I've talked to people. It is heartbreaking of the people that have paid off their property
and stop the insurance
and don't have insurance. So I just said something to a person this morning on a phone call about a statistic that came out of the assessor's office. Okay. Think about this statistic. Almost 15%, 14.9, according to County Assessor Jeff Prang, or whatever Jeffrey's last name is. He said that almost 15% of all of the parcels in Altadena are based on the 1975 assessment calculator, meaning they were pre-Prop 13. Okay, 15%, where the average in the county is 6.9%. So more than double. What that means is it demonstrates to me, and it demonstrates to, I'm sure, to you and others, that there were a lot of people that have been in their properties for 50 plus years.
Yep.
And those are probably what we call the generational wealth build families that now may not have had enough insurance to help keep their wealth at the level it was on January 6th. And that really stinks.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that something like ABBF or some of the other organizations coming in that are going to get the monies, that we're looking at those historic families, many of them of Black and brown, many of them of color, that will need, maybe not a big boost, but look, 100,000, 150,000 when they might, have nothing else, will make a big difference. And then you were talking, and I love what you said about these organizations that want to help actually build back homes.
Yeah.
Whether it's Habitat, whether it's Samaritan's Purse, whether it's some of the other organizations, where volunteer laborers like our Rotary Club and others in Altadena helped build that house 2 years ago that was done by Habitat for Humanity. And of course, they're the first, because they already had plans that were recently approved, right?
Exactly.
So they just got their plans, and there's going to be volunteers helping rebuild that house, right?
Yeah.
But again, I'm hoping that one of the things ABBF can help somebody find out, or we find out ourselves, is how many households really did not have insurance. We know those statistics are out there, but so far nobody has floated a number, whether it's 7%, 11%, 14%. I hope we get to figure that out pretty soon, and then we can identify those families that own those parcels. And then if they had renters on their property, how do we find those renters so that when we do help those families rebuild a home, that if they want to continue using that property for rental, that they allow those families that were renting to come back because they love Altadena.
Right.
Because I want to see those people back.
Yeah.
I would love to see all those families back.
Yeah.
So,
I know that I've heard there was about 400 so far, that number that you were saying I've heard 400, I think about a week and a half ago.
For no insurance.
Yes. Yeah. As of about a week and a half ago, at least 400. And you're right. There were some that, we found through Victory that there were some that had great grandma's house that was passed down and they never changed the deed and it wasn't in a trust. So part of the long-term recovery and what I'm talking to UCLA about is as we help people to build back, right? And the money, like 55 million is nothing, you guys. Let me just say this.
Nothing.
In my meetings with Cal OES and all of that, there are funders. And when I say funders, I'm talking billions of dollars waiting to come in so people can rebuild. But there is a process. And that process is we've got to get the training first. That's why I'm in these workshops. And then there's additional training that's put on by Cal OES that we have to go through. It's a 40-hour training that I'm going to go through. And then we have what's called case management. Right. And there are organizations that there will be 5 that will have the case management. Us at Victory, we've been calling it care management because we don't want to look at somebody and say you're a case. We want to be able to care for you through this process. Right. So once we have the 5 orgs and the people that are going to be hired, and what I told Cal OES a couple weeks ago in the meeting is I want to make sure we are the ones that help pick these orgs, because then we want to make sure that people that not only have been displaced but lost jobs get these jobs as care managers.
Correct.
Right. And we want to make sure they're from the community, not outsiders that don't know us or don't know Altadena, that come back and are the care managers. So they were like, that's fine, Toni, we'll work with you because we think that's a better process, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, because the thing is, they can tell you this is the blueprint, this is what we do. And you can either roll over and just take it or be like me, that's like, no, that's not good enough for us. And once you do that, they go, oh, okay, hadn't thought about that, but yeah, we can do that. Right. And we could work with you on that. And they told me, they were like, we hadn't had anybody say that or challenge us. We just go in and tell them this is what has to be done. I said, but not me. Like, that's not good for us. And so the fact that like they acknowledged it and said, we can do it how you want. But that's when the real money comes in. Like even the 600 million that was raised at that LA Fire Relief concert, whatever it was, and the Grammys had money raised and other people. When I tell y'all this is dropping the bucket money, and the real funders, they're talking to FEMA, Cal OES, but they have not put a penny into our recovery yet. They wait until all these other things are in process and the money is coming. But like I said, it may be 6 or 9 months from now. But when the real funders come and start dropping the billions because the case managers or care managers have to be paid, and then people, and there's only 2 orgs. Habitat is not an org that is fully approved by FEMA and the state. Yes, they have their organization and they can come and they got the first permit to start rebuilding that house. But the Mennonites and Hope Recovery are the 2 that are fully approved by Cal OES, which is California Office of Emergency Services, who I've been meeting with, and by FEMA. And that's the real money, the funders. And there is billions that is already waiting. So I try to tell people, like, it's coming, be patient, because the Mennonites and Hope Recovery will build your house and you will not be charged. There will not be a lien or anything, but it's almost like those that have absolutely nothing and are desolate, but don't want to leave, right? And they have their lot. So it is coming, but there is an entire process. And part of that process is through care management. We don't just say, okay, boom, here's the money for your house, right? Or we're going to have the Mennonites build it. We want to make sure that you can sustain it. We want to make sure that you have financial counseling so that other monies that comes to you, you don't just blow. We want to make sure that the deeds are correct and that if you're going to pass it down, matter of fact, put your house in a trust. That way the trust owns it and the beneficiaries of that trust, which might be generations to come, right? And who's on that and the executors of it, it's right. So there is some education that comes with care management, financial education, things like trust, wellness, spiritual education, and not saying, oh, you got to convert to this religion or none of that, but just making sure spiritually you're in a good space. And then that money is coming. And then with that care management team, like I could be your care manager, Mark, and I could know your circumstances. And I could say, okay, I recommend Mark. Then there's a board that votes on it. And if we vote, whoever's on the board, that yes, this one, however many, right? 500, 1,000, whatever. Then we hand that over to those two groups, the Mennonites or Hope Recovery, and they take on the process of building that property. So there is a process and there is real money that's coming, billions and maybe trillions. I don't know for sure. But the big money funders, they're already in talks and they're waiting, right?
So Toni, So I got to say that you know how you said at the beginning of the show that your listeners have grown over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and part of what I need to do, as you do, is let people know that they need to listen to these kind of podcasts, because you're talking not just from the heart and the soul, but you're also talking from an educated position that helps somebody like me who wants to just kind of stay in the background and work with these groups of somewhat of my comfort zone. But look, you know, there's a good, I don't know if I want to say dozens or a couple of hundred really good people working on all of our behalves, like you and Brian, Jamal, all that. But we've got to make sure that we increase the listener pool, that we increase the fact that, oh my goodness, there is all this information and people are picking it up more on one-on-ones instead of taking some great opportunities to, like, you know, set aside 1 hour on a Tuesday at 10 to really get a better handle on what has occurred over the last week. And it's like the same thing that, you know, the reports that we get from the supervisors community meeting on Mondays at 4, you know, sooner or later that's going to back off, right? Most likely. And so I am just honored to be part of being able to share a little bit of my story, but more of being able to even learn more about, you know, the idea of the messaging and getting it out there. And so I mean, I will say to you that over the next week or two, I will continue to share the message of, you know, your podcast, because like you said, when you said you went up there and said something to OES, you didn't do it for Toni. You didn't do it just for your family. You did it for the 42,000 people that used to live here on January 6th. And
absolutely.
That is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You know, of course, this kind of started because of my parents who have lived there 57 years, but it morphed into something totally different. And now partnering with UCLA and all the other stuff we're doing, it's about our community. I don't live currently in Altadena. Like I've told a million people, I couldn't afford a house there 4.5 years ago when I bought. So I'm out in San Dimas. Might I come back now? Yes, if I can buy a lot and build on it, right? But I'm an Altadenian, period. We'll always be an Altadenian. My parents are still there. My sister's there. I'll eventually be back, right? I went from preschool at Loma Alta preschool and when I was 3 on up, right? And so, like I don't do anything out here. This is where I live, but this ain't my place, right? And so for me, it is about our community, the Altadena and Pasadena community to an extent, because we always say over Dena, we're together, right? But Altadena is my heart. And so for me, what I do, and Brian and what we do, whether we're currently living there or not, is for Altadena, because we are Altadenians. We grew up there. We will always be Altadenians. And the more information we get, the more you share, right? And of course, we're on every day at 10 or 10-ish, because sometimes we start at 5 after, 10 after, whatever, 20 after. but 5 days a week. And then we go out like we do on Saturdays to whatever events that we put on this show and say, hey, this is going on and this is going on. We try to go as many places as we can, talk to people, get footage, lots of connections happening, you know, with me, with the county and all of them. And then now meeting you and others. And so we can bring it back here and keep people informed and accurately informed. That's our biggest thing. We don't want a bunch of banana stuff coming, right? We get on those calls on Mondays. We get on other things like, you know, when we heard about the voting and all that, I got on Secretary of State Weber's call, right? And then was able to come back that Thursday because it was on a Wednesday night and say, this is what she said. You don't have to change your address on your license. As a matter of fact, don't change it on anything. All you have to do is go into either Vote LA or wherever, Secretary of State, and change only your mailing address, because voting material cannot be forwarded. It will always be sent back to the Secretary of State's office. So whether it's your ballot, your pre-ballot, any of the, you know, things that have to do, but because LA is a VAC, a voting access county, you can vote anywhere and you don't have to change anything. And so we didn't have the truth about that. Matter of fact, a week prior, I was like, oh, you gotta, you know, change something, because I was told something and it wasn't accurate. So instead, let me go get the accurate information and sit on this webinar for an hour or so, come back and give it here accurately so that people know honestly, right? And that's the biggest thing, like with ABBF or anybody else. I'm glad you said ABBF is separate from PCF, right? Because we thought, oh, it's gonna report up and it's through them. Excuse me, bless me, I got a little tickle. But if we can get that information and say, okay, yeah, you got this 55 million. And if I can be of any assistance, if you all ever need me to come to a board meeting to talk about the information that I'm getting from, you know, FEMA or Cal OES or whoever, I will. But the fact is, there are so many people that are in great need now. And let me just say this. I know you mentioned that $15,000 grant. I want people to be careful, though, with these grants, because it is through Forward. And Forward is a data collection company. And ever since the fires, because we at Victory denied working with them, they have been going around to all the local orgs trying to get the data. They want everyone's data and want to consolidate it. But that is literally a violation of California's data privacy laws if we don't get permission to give someone else your data, which is why Victory is not doing it. Also, be careful with these, oh, we're giving you this grant. If somebody gives you a W-9 in order for you to receive that grant, you can best believe next year it's going to show up on your taxable income and you're going to have to claim it on your taxes. So yes, everybody is saying, oh, we're giving money, but be very, very mindful and careful and know the rules, because if you don't, you're going to have a tax bill. One of the things that when all this money comes in, and even what Victory is doing, we're not giving it directly to people. And I know he dropped off, probably technical difficulties again. So I'll talk until we find that out for sure. But one of the things is, oops, you're on mute, Brian. You came on. Go ahead, come back on. I was moving myself from the side. So move yourself back in and you could come off mute. But one of the things with these grants is if you, like I said, do this W-9 versus somebody has the money, like Victory is giving out 30 cars, right? We did not give the money directly to the people. We went and purchased cars. They were used cars or whatever, and then gave them. So the money has to go to the vendor. That way you don't get taxed on it, right? So that's super important. And a lot of people don't know that. And they're just like, oh, somebody's giving me a grant. Oh, I'm getting this $100,000. Oh, I'm getting this 15. Oh, I'm getting whatever. And most likely they're going to ask you for that W-9. You fill that out, you're going to get taxed on it. And it's going to have to be reported in your taxes next year. Go ahead, B.
I just want to know how I can get one of those hot spots, you know, because I'm always up in Altadena. Like right after I leave from here today, I'm going back there because they started removing the debris yesterday. So I thought it was just going to be the walkthrough. They said, no, we're starting right now. I said, oh, okay. It's hard to have signal up there, though. There's no power, even though the lines are up there. There's still no power. So, yeah, a hotspot would come in handy, especially when I was up there the other day when we were trying to bring me in and there was no signal. So I was going so we're trying today.
Yeah. I will ask Mark. I'll text him. I know he dropped off, may not be able to get back in. He hasn't texted me yet, but I'll text him.
He probably had to run in there and get his strawberries and
food for less, he said. Bananas, yeah. I will ask him if they have any available still or if they're gone. And if there are, how can people,
because they're for a year. He said they were good for a year. I'm like, that would be perfect because I got to be up there a lot, especially when we're up in Altadena at the Loma Alta for the opening. That would be really nice to be able to go live from there while, when it happens, and we have the necessary bandwidth to do it.
Yep.
It's not really a personal thing. I don't need it for me. I just need it to use in that specific situation.
Understood. So I will definitely ask him, and I'll ping you or whatever later. I know we're like at 11:05, which is cool. I got to get on this VOAD call in just a minute. Oh, did he just pop
back in?
Yay. Yeah. Okay, so
let him. I was trying to let him get situated before you pop him in.
Oh, sorry. I brought him back in. Hey, Mark.
He could have been digging in his nose, waiting for it.
Bring him on the stage, right?
My phone got hot. Sitting in I've never had that happen, but
that's why I told you to park in the shade.
I know.
You sure did at the beginning of the call.
I'm telling you, I go through this all the time. I do Zooms in the car for 2 hours. That phone gets hot. I had to turn the air conditioner on, put the phone in front of the vent.
Yep. But I do appreciate, when I got cut off, you were talking about, how the data collection, because Toni, you are so accurate with the idea that the data that is collected from the right of entries, from the Army Corps, from FEMA Red Cross, somewhere that data needs to find a way to be helpful to all of us.
Right.
Instead of staying in what I would call silos. And people using it for whatever their benefit is, because, let's find out really if it's 400 or 600 or 900 people that have no insurance. Let's find that out. Right.
Yeah. And the thing with the data, oh no, did I lose you again? I don't know if his phone is still hot. But California has some of the toughest data security laws, and sharing data that you and your org collects with another one without all of those people's permission is a violation of our data protection rules here.
I mean, that from working at Splunk and, me dealing with HIPAA and IT, you cannot allow personal information to get out. That's PHI, personal health information, personal identification.
Or just PII.
I had to lock down one of my CPA firms with Cisco routers and switches and all that, just because now they have a thing called WISP that all the CPAs have to send in to the IRS to let you know, sort of like HIPAA, where it lets you know that we are now protecting your data. Because if it falls on me, I'm the IT person, so it doesn't fall on the CPA firm. So if something goes wrong,
you're a mute, Mark.
Your employee decides that they want to click on some stupid link that breaches the whole thing, you at least can isolate that particular workstation instead of having to go through ransomware through the whole network. So
and shut it all down. So I'm glad you came on and said that. Mark, I see you back. I don't know if you're still on mute or not, but we were just talking, and I was saying with data, because I've worked in data for quite a few years now, and data protection and all of data security. And so, like the three of us, by the way, are all tech type people. Me, Brian's IT guy. I am a senior systems admin, but in data stuff. And then Jamal is sales data.
Well, he mostly does real estate tech. Helping people set up software that they use for their daily mortgage stuff and all that stuff. So we all got the background.
Right. So the thing about, like I was saying, and you had, disappeared again for a second, was data in California. The laws around data security are like no joke. We have the toughest in the nation. Right. And you literally, whether it's HIPAA, PII, PHI, whatever. You cannot. If we have data on the 2,100 people that we have helped at Victory and somebody else has data, you can't just share that. You have to get permission, and it has to be signed that I can give your data to someone else. So when Forward came through with this, whatever, Asia Brown heading up this group or whatever, I got the information from my church. They said, Toni, can you vet this? And I told them, don't do it, because Forward is literally going to all these orgs, smaller orgs or whatever, and saying, oh, put it all here. And they want it to be housed in one location. But if you've helped 2,100 people and they've not given permission, we can't share that data with you. Correct. And so unless you mask it, right? There's things that have to be masked. You still have to get permission for what you share. And so that's why I try to tell people, be careful. This grant for $15,000 is through that same organization, Forward, who has been going around since the beginning, trying to get everybody's data. And so to me, that's a red flag, because now you're going to entice people with $15,000 grants, and they're going to now give you the data because you weren't able to get it another way. So all I'm telling people is not knocking it and saying it's not good, but if you get that link and you want to find out more, check in, ask the questions of Forward, what is going to be happening with my data, right? And then tell them you don't want it shared or whatever. And then also the W-9, because again, if they're giving you 15 grand, they're just not giving it to you. You're going to fill out a W-9. It's going to be reported as taxable income next year, and it's going to be part of what you have to report for your taxes. So please be careful about data, what happens with your data, and then these grants that you think, oh, I'm really in need. People are giving me this money, because it's never just a gift. If it doesn't go through an organization, it's paid to the vendor first, and the vendor gives you something in kind for it, whether it's a vehicle or whatever else, or if it's a Airbnb or whatever, if they pay it directly to the hotel or the Airbnb, then you're out of that. It's not taxable income for you. So I want people to be very mindful of that and be very, very careful when looking at all these orgs coming in to give, quote unquote, give you something. There's something on the tail end that may cause undue harm to you next year.
And so Kathy has said that we need authorization. I'm with that, Kathy, but I don't want to authorize you to use none of my information. I don't even want to do a trade-off. You know, like when we were when people were giving money out, and what's your address? Well, why do you need my address to give me a grant? You don't need that. So
I'll say, when the Rotary Club, so we've done 2 big community giveaways, right? The first one, we did it without, it was really just come and show your address, and we didn't record a lot of things, but we had 2 groups that were there that were giving away gift cards and paying bills. So they kept their data, and they collected the data that way. And again, they tell people, we're taking this and we're going to use it only for this. The second time we did a giveaway, we actually created a Google Doc where in the Google Doc we said, look, we're asking you for this information because, one, we want to make sure that we're actually giving to people who either lost their home, that was our focus, or had heavily damaged homes. And they had to, of course, self-report. We're not checking on this. We had 750 people register. But what that did do is it allowed us to feel more comfortable that to the donors that were giving us money or giving us air purifiers or giving us all this food and clothing to give away, that we were earmarking it to families that were in the Eaton fire zone, right? And so, but we said, we're not doing anything with your data other than we might contact you again in the future to let you know about other groups. But that's it. So we, again, that was from the Rotary Club. We just, it's just sitting in a lockbox for that, exactly for that reason you're saying.
Exactly.
So that's really good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the right thing to do with it, right? What we have seen.
Oh, did I lose you?
No. Can you hear me? I still
Toni,
see you and hear you. Yeah.
After all that I just said, I lost you?
No. Brian, come on. Can you see Brian?
Well, I see you, Brian, but All right.
Yeah, you guys both can hear each other and see each other. Well, you probably can't see each other, but we heard everything he said.
Oh,
I
good,
can hear and see Mark. I guess he can't hear or see me.
No, I can.
When you
I can
first
hear
went
you
off, we
now.
thought you were running in to get your bananas and strawberries.
Yeah. Well, I did eat them this morning, so yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
yeah, you're right, Kathy. For that one, well, it's going to be going through a case manager or care manager, and the organization will keep that data. If Cal OES or FEMA needs it, right, we'll give it to them, because we will already have had the authorization signed by people as they start with care management, right? So that's a little bit different for that big money. Yes, it's coming. But yeah, it's so important. And a lot of times, Mark, people just don't know because they just don't know, right? And so if we can get the information and get it accurately and disseminate it to people so that there isn't undue harm caused, right? Not that anybody is trying to, but if you just don't know and you keep going to all these giveaways getting cash because you are in need, right? Or you're put on somebody's list. Huh?
You're going to have a tax bill.
Right. You're going to have a heck of a tax bill, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I did not make that. Yeah, remember you got that because you were a fire survivor. Yeah, you got a couple $100,000 and you're not prepared for that. Now you owe the IRS. And so that's why I'm trying to make people just aware of what's out there, what's going on in the processes, and don't just think, oh, I'm going to go give my data to someone, because we've also seen some people use the data to then go and collect more money from big donors, because that's what the donors want to see. How many people are you helping, right? But then they're not disseminating it to the people whose data they've now used to get that grant, right? Or that funding. And so just got to be very careful, do your due diligence, find out who's behind these things, where the money is, follow the money. And that's what we kind of try to do here, because we're nerdy and like doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so so I try to vet everything and, get the information or whatever, because I thrive on that. And Brian and Jamal do too, and we get everything. So yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so
because people trust us. So we're not going to bring something to them or in front of them or some person that is not a trusted person in the community. Because once you have that one bad apple, the whole bunch is gone. Yeah. So that's why we vet everybody and make sure that, everything is on the up and up.
And again, I think it's a great thing. I mean, the institutions, we lost our senior center that was, owned by the county. You burned down. But, the library is there. The library is a good core community organization. The community center next to the sheriff's station still there. Some of the nonprofits that are not clergy based, they've been doing some work, like Rotary, we just celebrated 75 years. There's some, it's important that some of these institutions try to do what work they can within their, within their rail or their expertise, and try not to go above that, because you don't want to have bad apples and you don't want to give misinformation. And so we've been very cautious in Rotary and the Library Foundation, the Friends of the Library, that's going to have a book sale, by the way, on May 17th in the library parking lot.
That's the same day as the park opening back, right?
It is the same day. I know it's, but that's always been the Saturday after Mother's Day for the last 40 years, having a big book sale at the library. So I'm going to be in 3 places, like you guys are at 3 places on a Saturday, because there is a lot of things going on. But at the end of the day, you guys know that the groups that are trying to do things are again wanting to be helpful, because we want to restore, build our back community. Altadena strong, the community. That's what we're all trying to do.
Yep. And it's good, like I said, that those of us that are really out here doing it and doing it together and right are coming together, are meeting, are collaborating on some things, because it's so important. None of us can do it single-handedly.
Not at all.
So we've got to do everything we can together. I'm excited, Mark, because, even May 17th will be all over the place. I know you're going to come, hopefully, and bring your family Saturday to the Anthem Ashes for Anthem Resource Fair and concert down at Memorial Park. And please share with your network, because obviously your network is not my network. We're now connected. You get to share this. You get to say, hey, you guys, this is on 5 days a week, right? And Toni brings people specifically on throughout the community or whatever, experts on Tuesdays. And we're going to continue doing this together. As we say, and Brian has coined it, we are the longest running podcast in the world.
In the world.
Doing this for Altadena, because this is episode 70. There are others that have started, but they're on episode 20 or 15 or whatever. We're episode 70 today. We're in this for the long haul. So if that means 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or whatever, we're not going anywhere. As long as we have breath in our body and there is still a need for it and a desire to get this information from us or out there to people, we are going to be here. And I'm super glad you could give us this time on your way going up to water at your lot, your plants for your trees. So thank you. I look forward to seeing you Saturday. I look forward to seeing you on the 17th and whatever else we can do together to collaborate. Let's do it.
You got it.
And I'm sure you'll be back on the show a few more times before the year is out.
Oh yeah.
There were a couple questions.
Yeah.
That came in, and this, which was a thank you, Mark. Marcus Betts said, "Thanks, Mark, for sharing your experience and insight. Hopefully, you will come back on periodically. I appreciate your efforts to help Altadena to return to its beauty with all Altadenians." There was, where's the other one? This one said, Mike. I know he meant Mark. You're doing great work for and in the community, and we thank you for it. How are you and your family faring emotionally and mentally? Because we do check on each other for wellness.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that, as I said earlier, we have, the children with us, which is, we have not put a television set, in the rental house that we're in. We're not watching the news regularly. We're not doing things. They can see some stuff on an iPad, but, we've kind of kept the I don't know if it's good or bad news, but we've just not had a television. And I got to tell you, for 3 months of not having a television, it's been interesting. So I'm only getting, in a sense, information from the Yahoo News or the Google or MN, things like that, and some Facebook. But I do read the Pasadena Star News, and there's got to be something to be said about local journalism, and that's what podcasts are about. It's local journalists doing work to make sure that communication is available. And so, whether it's the written word or it's the hearing word through podcasts and digital, it's important that we do get the information. But I'm not watching network stuff. I'm not watching the news, and I got to tell you honestly, Toni and Brian, it's sort of a relief. I'm afraid to say that because I watched television a lot as a kid and as an adult, but it's nice to be able to focus on where I'm getting my information from, which is why your podcast is important. And I can't wait till you get to number 100 and number 150 and keep going.
Thank you. There was another.
We're trying to reach 2,000. We're trying to reach.
Yeah, we will. And Brian popped it up, but I wanted you to finish first. A lady, Kathy, is on here and says she'll be sharing this information with our deaf community, which includes her family members, which she's advocating for. And I think that that's so important, Kathy, because last Tuesday I had a young lady on that talked about domestic violence, and I'm already in talks with somebody that's going to come on in a couple of weeks that's going to talk about people on the spectrum, right? Because there are major communities and even the visually impaired that if we know that there are groups that are slipping through the cracks, and we don't want to forget about anybody. And so important, Kathy, that you're on here today and you're going to be sharing the information, because if people don't know where to get the information or miss out the information, they get left, right? And they fall between the cracks, and we don't want that. So yeah, I'm super thankful that Mark came on today and talked about this, and that you found any of the information today valuable enough for you to share with your family that you're advocating for. And we will continue.
Kathy, I just wanted to say to Kathy, just so you know, I just put the link down there for the YouTube version of everything. And hold on, I gotta mute you real quick, Mark. You're echoing into the thing. If you send the link to them to go to AltadenaTalks on YouTube, they do have closed captions, so they can read everything that we're saying. So it's already built in. So that would actually help them to follow along with our podcast on a daily basis. I know my father appreciates Jamal reading out the announcements because he's blind, so he has to rely on you telling him. So it kind of works out for both of them. We're covering both aspects of both of those ADA produced situations. So that's all I wanted to say, just so you know.
Yeah, I think it's great that we continue to amplify the voices that may have been stifled, right? Whether it's someone who is in a abuse situation, like the young lady we had on last week that talked about Shepherd's Door, her organization that helps batterers or helps those that are in domestic violence situations, but also counsels batterers. So she was on last Tuesday. Like I said, I'm talking to someone and waiting on a date, which will probably be in a couple weeks, where she's going to come on and talk about her centers that deal with people on the spectrum, meaning all over the place. And so, yeah, we're trying to remember even those that someone else may forget about, because no one should be forgotten about. And I'm really thankful that you said that, Kathy, because if this is beneficial, and the fact that Brian just said, go on YouTube, it's closed caption, they can read everything that we're talking about. This information has to get out there. And if it's through us, then so be it, right? So whoever we can bring on, and if anybody watching has suggestions for us of who we can bring on, or a topic that you want us to cover and bring someone on, please tell us, because we are open to that as well.
Okay. I have to jump on to 11:30, but
no problem. Thank you so much again, Mark. I know I'm almost 30 minutes late for my VOAD call. Go on, Jamal. I know you want to come on.
No, I'm just going to say thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. This is the valuable information, and look forward to seeing you again.
You got it. Thank you guys very much for everything.
All right. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So we're at an hour and a half that quick. Wow.
When the conversation is good, people stay on and we get the interactions from the crowd and all of that. So that's the whole point of us just letting Toni talk. Because Toni talks, people listen, like E.F. Hutton back in the day. Remember that?
Engagement.
Well, my broker said.
Right. I remember that. Right. But yeah, the engagement is needed, is necessary from everyone. So super glad to continue to bring people on that we all can engage with and get information from. And I'm looking forward to working with them or hearing more about what the ABBF is going to do. And we'll bring him back as he has more information.
Well, you know what?
That was powerful.
The thing is starting to get some traction now, because I'm looking at the professional dashboard today, and I'm going to slide this on over onto the show. Because of course, people don't believe that, they think like 6 people watching the show. And, I want you to believe that. I want you to think that 6 people. And actually my mama, Tony's mom and dad, Jamal's mom and dad, and his sisters, that's the only ones watching this. Oh, and Mark. And, Jason. Yeah, the only ones, and Elaine, Kathy, and a few others, Erica. It's like 18 people watching the show. So I just want to thank you to those 18 people that watch the show every day.
Faithfully and support us.
But here's the actual numbers. So I'm going to show you this real quick. We actually are climbing. So as the last 28 days, we've had 32,896 people watch our show.
Nice.
20,000 in reach and 1,000 content interactions. Meaning, this is how many comments people have come on and said something about. And just to show you, like right now, we've had 185 people watch the show so far. And even the advertisement that I put up yesterday for Toni was 600 views. So the whole point is we never really did advertising. that was the first. I actually did it 3 times. I mean, I think it was one for James Farr, one for Chris Lowe's, and Patrice. That was it. Other than that, we don't advertise. This is not for the masses. We don't need Los Angeles. We don't need Chatsworth. I mean, if you want to donate, that's fine, but this show is not for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at with this. So I'm just saying thank you for everyone who has actually come on, checked us out, and made this a reality for everybody. Now, my only thing that I would like to ask of everyone is if you have people that you want to show this show to, please share it. That's the whole point. That's the only way they're going to get to see it. It's on YouTube. It's closed caption. We are very articulate. So, even my dad can understand. Well, I talk fast anyway, so he didn't have no choice. But especially when I was mad. Read this one. He like, don't think I didn't understand you, because I did. But and what was that you said, boy? That was the one.
Phenomenal.
Right. But the whole point is, thank you for participating, because without you, there really would be no show. I mean, we would be up here talking to ourselves, which is fine, because that's what we do every day anyway. But we just want to make sure that we get out the vital information that is needed to get through these trying times. And we're bringing on people that are vital figures that have been doing this for years, Ghost in the Machine. And, I'm just letting you know.
I don't know who that was, but you're not home alone today.
Thanks, Marcus, for the comment. But that's the beauty of this show. And as you can see, I'm getting darker and darker because my light only has an hour's worth of battery. So now I'm fading out. Pretty soon I'll be like. But anyway, we appreciate y'all. Tony's got to go. Jamal, are you going to finish announcements, or you want to? Okay. So Tony, you can get lost. We know you got a whole bunch of stuff you got to do.
Yeah, I'm 30 minutes late on this VOAD call. It's all good. Today is construction management. We're learning about that, and they record. So whatever I miss, I'll find out. Yeah, I'll find out about. But I'll say my toodles. Toodaloo. Thanks, guys. I'll miss the announcements, but I do need to jump for this VOAD training. So toodles. See you all tomorrow. Look, who is that, Brian?
Where? Oh, give me the high sign.
There it is.
Our game.
Give me the high sign.
Our game.
Remember that? Give me the high sign.
See, Brian knows everything.
That's way back. That's what we're gonna focus on next week, Jamal. Toodles. Is a little rascal.
Yeah.
All their little snippet episodes.
And wouldn't PD?
Oh yeah, it is tomorrow. I'm talking about next week.
Wasn't PD a pit bull? And they were hanging out. PD was cool. It's all about how you raise them.
You got a drawn-on circle.
The circle,
Yep.
For sure.
And shoe polish around his eye. That's all it was.
Right? That black.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Corey. Hi. You coming in at the end talking about you need to talk
y'all, I gotta jump for real.
It's Tony.
Take care, Tony.
Corey, talk to Tony.
Later.
Oh, it's too late now. She's leaving.
Bye.
You can't talk to her now. Anyway, Jamal's going to jump on and do the announcements.
Oh. All right. Let me go back to where I was. Cool. What in the world? All right, y'all. We're going to get through these last bits of announcements. So we have the Dena Relief Drive, Pasadena Main Hub at the Pasadena Church, 425 Sierra Madre Villa in Pasadena, every Saturday from 11 to 4. And if you want to volunteer, please scan the QR code. We have the senior luncheon every Wednesday. from 12 to 3 at First AME Church, 1700 North Raymond Avenue. There's going to be obviously lunch, but there'll be games, fellowshipping, and much more. If you want to RSVP, send an email to msz_strong@yahoo.com or call 626-673-2200. Then we have the put on by Neighborhood Servants. It's prom season's here and they got you covered. They're thrilled to support you with a free hairstyling and yes, barbers too, and makeup services to get the prom ready in style. Here's how you book the appointment. You head to either scan the code below or you go to the link neighborhoodservants.com, tap on students, use this link. Then you select either book hairstyle or book makeup, hairstylist or book makeup. Then you pick a date and time and match your school's prom. Create an account. The booking site handles everything for you and your artist. Then you show up and let us take care of the rest. So it's a great free service provided to all the high school seniors. So if you opted out of debris removal, there's actually a Zoom or webinar that is designed to help you learn about hiring a debris removal contractor, and it's today, April 22nd, from 5 to 6 p.m. If you want to join, you go ahead and scan the code, the QR code at the bottom of the flyer. Talked about this before. Land has value. Learn how to become a homeowner. This is put on by the NAACP, Pasadena Good Trouble Alliance. It's generational wealth through home ownership. Topics you basically learn. It's a webinar, and you'll learn how to get your financial house in order, how to get your credit straight, funding resources, down payment support, loan info to build your home, gain access to resources to help you design your home. So this is tomorrow from 7 to 8:30 p.m. You would click the QR code or scan the QR code to register. And for more information, you can reach out to 626-793-1293. That's the local NAACP office. There's also going to be an event to celebrate the community, architecture, diversity, heritage, and more. Altadena Revealed. It's a reflection of people in place. It's a monthly lecture series and social hour. So this is the second one, and this is the history and legacy of Altadena's Black community. Some of the speakers will be Stephen McCall, Carrie Chasteen, and Veronica Jones. It is this Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Altadena Main Library at 600 East Mariposa. And if you want to register, you go ahead and scan the QR code. The doors open at 7 and the lecture begins at 7:30. There is a how to engage with a designer professional virtual workshop. That's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is a Zoom call, and you'll learn how to solicit, select, and work with a design professional who can support your goals. If you want to register, you go ahead and scan the QR code or go to lacounty.pw/design-pro-workshop. And the speaker that'll be there is Jessica Orlando, who's a licensed California architect and vice president of the American Institute of Architects, Pasadena and Foothill. We have the Dena Give Back, which is also Saturday from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is at the Holy Assembly Church of God in Christ at 55 East Villa Street in Pasadena. They're going to be distributing new shoes, new athletic wear, Stanley Cups, food, water cases, and gift cards, in addition to raffling off 2 new iPads. This will be a very nice event. And an additional item that is on Saturday is the Brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Eta Pi Lambda chapter are presenting Dena First Aid Day. They're actually providing free resources, real relief and community love, from food and school supplies to wellness checks and disaster recovery workshops, and it is for the community. This is at Jackie Robinson Park at 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. And again, it's Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's also Rise and Heal for the women of Altadena impacted by the Eaton Canyon fires. It's a wellness day. The workshop is including wellness check-ins, grief healing, writing therapy, art therapy, yoga, and much more. You would scan the QR code so you can participate in the event this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is also at Holy Assembly Church at 55 East Villa Street in Pasadena. You can also register at givebutter.com/rise and heal. And lastly, it is the Ashes to Anthems Whole Dena Benefit Concert and Resource Center. This is going to be from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. this Saturday at Memorial Park in Pasadena. It's a community initiative to rebuild, restore, revive, and hold Dena. And it's going to feature Andra Day, Travis Green, Guapale, I believe it was D Smoke. I forget everybody else's name. Several others, and we're going to make sure that we have those listed. But this is the event that's in connection with Toni's church, Victory Bible, and it is where we're also going to be having our podcast. It's going to be at this event. It's going to be a lot going on. I'm going to bring Brian back in. And this is going to be one of those things. We're going to have a whole lot going on that day. It's going to be a long day. A lot of other events that are happening on Saturday. So please participate and, check out as many as you can. And definitely come and hang out with us for a little while. Come see us live and give us a shout out. Say a little something on the camera. Should be a very, very, very
because we're going to be on there all day long. So basically what we're going to be doing is going to be something totally different than you've ever seen before. So we're going to have like the man in the streets in the middle of the crowd with the camera walking through like we know on ESPN or something. Then we're going to have people coming up to our table, sitting down and being on camera and talking about what they do and what they have done and what they've been doing for the community and how has the community helped them out and a gang of other things, plus we're going to be focusing on showing the different concerts. We'll be zooming in on that so you can get a bird's eye view. I mean, we got a whole plan thing that day. So I'm going to have a great time. Just talked to our shirt manufacturer yesterday, Jamal. So our AltadenaTalks Foundation shirts will be ready that day. And a special shout out to Sabrina Ricks because she is the vendor to get everything done.
She is the one.
Bring her on the show probably on Friday so she can expound on her capabilities. She don't like being on camera and then I'll be clowning too much, so she will cut me off. Sort of like how Toni does. So, the whole thing is we are trying to keep this in the community. So anything that we do business-wise, whatever, we try to keep it in the community because this is our community and this is how you build back Altadena. Like keeping the people that were involved in it, if you're just a resident or if you owned a business, no one liked to drive anywhere outside of Altadena to go eat or go do anything. I mean, we had a local watering hole that we used to frequent all the time, and now we have the WhatsApp group, but it's not the same because everybody lives in a different area. And so we'll see how that goes. But at least we got communication with each other. So Gus, thank you very much for putting that group together. I know you hate when I come on there talking about stuff like this, but this is what's needed. I mean, he hates everything. Like, I got a group for that. Don't come on here and count it. He doesn't say it like that. But he goes, I have a group, Brian. If you really want to go ahead and do that. I said, I know you do, Gus, but all the people I deal with is in your group.
Yep.
Not the one that you have on Facebook, this one right here, where people still need help. They still need money. They still need resources. So we are your resource. We are your resource for resources.
I'm sure they appreciate it when you post it. But
hopefully they do. You got to go too?
Yeah, man, I got to go. So everybody.
Get off, man. Ghost in the scene. Just up. Ghost again.
right.
We both at the same time.
I'm on. All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up. Here. Episode 70. I will not be here tomorrow. So do you guys have fun, or you just have fun? If I can pop on, I will, but I have a feeling I won't be back in time. So we appreciate you guys.
So he's gonna set up the slides for me so that I'll be on here, and I'm gonna be talking like him. Okay, so today, guys, are gonna be talking about this. No, I'm just playing. He has to talk like that.
I talk that low. Let me turn my microphone up next time. Right.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Kathy, I actually need you to come on the show because Kathy, you can go ahead and leave if you need to, Jamal. But Kathy,
all right, no. Peace, you guys.
Yeah, Kathy has been on the forefront of the World Central Kitchen location since day one, and I like to give her a shout out because she's the reason why I find out about majority of this stuff all the time. And whenever I'm in Pasadena, and oh wait, there's a food spot I can go to. I hit Kathy up. Where y'all at today? So they be having 4 or 5 different spots they at. As you can see, we announce it every time. But at the same time, I appreciate all the efforts of Kathy and everyone else that's out there that is still on the front lines trying to do stuff. Because as long as we're here, we hope you're here and we can keep this thing going. Now, I'm going to jump off of here because yesterday we went up and they did the 360 walkthrough to get ready to remove debris. So we're trying to, I got to go back up there and capture some footage because, of course, I like to be in the scene. So now that I'm actually getting ready today's Tuesday. So yeah, I'm going to shoot up there, get that taken care of, and then we'll show you some footage of that tomorrow. And I'm thankful that, I had the wherewithal to have the vision of starting to talk to people going live. And once I saw that it was taking off, I'm like, well, let me use this source for good instead of just being personal. And it's turned into both. It's turned into something good for Altadena. It's turned into something personal for me. And you got my two co-hosts on here that I would not be able to do this show without. So I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for my life, my health, and the ability to speak to you all every day, because of being able to work from home. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we will be back tomorrow with more exciting adventures like Pee Wee Herman. Pee Wee's Big Adventure. We're going to do Altadena's Big Adventure. So I'm just saying thank you. Appreciate it. Share with everybody. Kathy, it's closed caption on YouTube, so don't forget to tell people that's in your family. My father listens, so he doesn't need to see it. That's what we're also going to be starting to spread out to Spotify, Tidal, to get the audio podcasts out there as well. So we're expanding. Things are happening, and I'm so glad that they are, and I'm happy to be part of this. And hey, man, I love my town. I love my schools. I love my city. I love my friends. We ain't even a city. Pasadena's a city. It's a town. So you got to get that lingo right. But anyway, thank you all for checking it out, and we'll see you soon.